yeah, what's up, girls and guys out there listening to us today? Welcome back to Masters of the Cinematic Universe, or welcome if this is the first episode you picked to listen to. My name is Joe O'Rourke, and with me today, as always, are my co-hosts, Eric, Get in the Pabone Zone, and Mr. Doug, not related to, but also Christ.
Hey, baby.
What's up, people?
Hey, and we also got a fourth special guest on with us today, Mr. Tony Reg Monjet.
Ooh, yeah.
Snap into this podcast.
Sorry, how's it going? Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. So happy to have you on with us.
I gotta get my impressions out of the way. But I'm happy to be here.
I'm going to do a
happy
Michael
to have
Myers
you.
impression.
That's a fantastic impression.
Yeah, I thought it was this is an impressions podcast. That's what I thought. That's why.
Oh, I want to start that podcast.
Well, that's
Tony,
what
can
we
do a
told
pod-
you. Yeah.
Can we start a podcast called Impressions and all we do is just make impressions?
Yeah, we can call it Impression Nation. And yeah, it's literally like no conversation. Just like start whatever impression you want at any given point of the show, and we'll just do like an hour and a half, and it'd be great.
Tony, this is my nightmare, man.
Dude, I'm so in. Tony, when we get done with this episode, me and you are talking about this. We're doing this.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Tony, what's new in your world, brother? What's going on?
Oh my God! I just spent. Okay, so I recently became a U.S. citizen. Yeah, whole European.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Wonderful.
Thank you very
Welcome.
much. So, one of the first things I don't know if you guys know, but there's like an election coming up. Apparently.
I
What?
heard something about
Yeah,
that.
I know, right? And you're like, I don't know if you heard, you have to like register to vote, right? But you know, I've been trying all day, and today was the deadline to register here in Florida, and I've been trying all day, and then and the website will just not work. So I thought that I was past the deadline, and then it turns out on Twitter, apparently the website for the Florida registration is down. So, you know, some people are claiming that's some sort of
Hanging
fraud.
chads.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
you know. But anyway, I think at around, I've been trying all day, like literally all day. I probably tried to send it through like 50 or so times. And I think at around 10 o'clock, I think I was able to get it through. I'm still not 100% sure. I'm going
Right.
to check back in like a few days.
Oh,
But I
man.
think I was able to get it through. So.
Yeah, but I mean, Tony, like, if you don't vote, I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Especially
I mean, yeah,
in
absolutely.
Florida.
I just kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've never voted, like, anywhere.
Right.
Like, even, like,
It's
I'm
a big
originally
deal.
from South America, like in Venezuela or whatever, and I moved here when I was 21 years old. Like, I never voted down there, and then obviously I never voted down here. So it was like, I kind of
How
felt
is
like...
the political system down there? Do like the votes actually count, or is it just whoever?
No, they
is,
don't.
like, gonna...
Not anymore. No. Maybe back in the day, like, they did count, but, like, ever since, like...
Bolivar.
like Chavez and all those people got in power, it's basically just been just just cheating elections and things like that. It's just like pointless basically to vote down there. But yeah, man, like I was like excited to like actually be part of the process. But you know, I think like I said, I hope I got through. I'll check in a couple days. You know, we'll see.
Yeah, if worse comes worse, you just tell me who to vote for, and I'll vote for you.
There you go. We'll do that.
Because you know, I don't care. I'm an what's it called? An I don't careican.
I don't care. Well, that's awesome, Tony. We're really happy to have you as a guest for this episode. Anybody else have anything new going on before we jump in?
Well, I mean, nothing that's going to top that. 'Cause
Yeah, that's
like,
pretty big
super
news,
cool.
man. That's
But
pretty
no,
big
I
news.
mean, yeah, I got a new car. It's
Oh.
a couple weeks now, but that's
that
big
beats it.
news. Nah. I mean, that's big news for me because it's the first actual new car that my wife and I have owned in like 30 years. So, thank
That's
you,
good.
children. You know that when you have 4 kids, that's what happens. You don't buy new cars for a while.
You get one for each tire.
Yeah, exactly. So it's cool. You know, nothing crazy. It's a Kia Forte, but it's brand spanking new, and you know, just the fact that I don't have to worry about anything when I wake up and go to start it. You know, I know it's going to get me where I need to go. So that's cool stuff.
The best thing about a new car is that now you're going to see everybody else differently. Like
Yes.
everybody that has a shitty car, they're just way below you.
Yeah. You'd be like, what is that, a 2018?
Yep.
You're gonna see
Come on.
people. You're gonna start seeing like Kia Fortes everywhere. Like if you went to
Oh,
Eric's driveway.
no, I mean, my mom has had one. She's got a 2010 that she drives around, so I'm very familiar with the car to begin with. But yeah, it'll happen. I'm throwing the shades on everywhere and, waving through tinted windows at people. So
You got a Forte too, right, Eric?
Yeah, but my Forte, listen, I bought this car because I needed a car for work. It's 4 cylinders. I don't take care of it. It's
Mine is a
slow.
4-cylinder.
Yeah, but yours is a cool 4-cylinder. Isn't yours turbocharged? That's different.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got a
Yeah.
WRX, right?
I do.
Yeah, 4-cylinder that's turbocharged is not the same as a 4-cylinder
No,
that struggles to
definitely
get
not.
to 50 miles
I-
an hour.
I've got
Hey,
a
listen, when I put the
6.6
sport
liter
mode on-
turbo.
nice.
Yeah,
You
no.
know?
No, as far as me, I have a lot of still a lot of commissions coming in, so I'm neck deep in art, which is nice, but it's stressful. Skateboarding is going very well. I've taken my daughter
Good.
to the park a few times, getting my balance back. I'm getting my ollies back. My wrist is feeling a little better. Thank you for all of your concern. So yeah, and I have a cruiser, which has been a lot of fun to take to the park because it's totally different than riding, just a typical like popsicle board. It's really like fast and it's just kind of fun to cruise around on and skate the bowl and stuff. So yeah,
Nice.
that's it for me.
It's awesome, man. I relearned a new trick today, and that was Smith grind on a box. Very proud of that.
Oh, dude, that's sick.
Nice. Was that at what's your park?
Oh no! That was like, okay. So my across the street neighbor, he kind of skated when he was in high school. So I got him back into skating, and now he's full on skating. So we built boxes. We just built shit that we can put in the street. So if it's a crappy day like today, he's like, hey man, you want to skate the box up front? I'm like, yep. And
Yep.
we spent a couple hours out there skating the box.
I used to have
Nice.
some shitty rails when I was growing up that we welded together.
Yep.
Out of, like angle iron.
You actually welded it. That's an advanced move, man.
Yeah, but the problem is if you don't weld the base wide enough, the second you hit it, the thing just rolls over and you break your fucking ankle.
Oh,
So yeah, it was a mess. But we're here for a reason tonight, guys.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
feeling pretty spooky. I don't know about you guys, but October is upon us, and if there's one tradition around here, it's this time of year we pop in the old Blu-ray of Halloween.
Oh,
yeah.
definitely the original.
Oh,
The one
yeah.
that started it all.
Sent
So to
chills
speak,
down my
as far as-
spine.
Slasher
Blu-ray,
murder
huh?
movies.
You know how I roll, man. I got that 10-year-old technology.
I had to rent mine, so I got current technology.
Oh, you were streaming it.
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna jump in to Halloween, and on this episode, Doug is gonna lead us through the plot points of this 1978 classic. Doug, take it away.
Yeah, we're gonna try. We're gonna try. So, again, as I mentioned, this movie sort of started its own horror genre. It was the first one of fame and importance to use that build up of suspense. John Carpenter, who wrote and directed it, wrote with Deborah Hill. He's a master at that. And this was his first big chance to do it, and he nailed it. He did it well. Being the old guy in the group, I was actually alive and around and old enough to go see it in the theater when it came out in 1978. And it scared the living shit out of me, me and my friends. I mean, it was traumatic because the marketing was genius, just the way they built up the suspense. We were panic stricken to see it, but we had to see it. It was just something you had to do. So I'm excited that we're reviewing this one. just to give a real quick synopsis. I mean, the movie starts out quickly in 1963. As a 6-year-old Michael Myers, he does some nefarious shit to his sister and ends up in a mental institution. And the movie takes place 15 years later when he escapes. So the cool thing is when it starts, it's a black screen, and it starts with one of the most iconic horror themes that's out there. It's up there with The Omen and with Jason's noises and music. The theme from Halloween is, you hear it, you know it. And it was actually written by John Carpenter. He writes the scores for most of his movies. So, it starts, the credits are rolling. The first name you see is Donald Pleasence. He was first because it was a big get for Carpenter to get him. So you got to draw the people in knowing that they've at least got a recognizable and well-known star. And some trivia about that is that he actually offered that role to Christopher Lee, who turned it down just because it wasn't enough money, and later said it's one of the biggest regrets in his film career is not doing that role. Donald Pleasence got $20,000 for 5 days work. And
that's awesome.
He said that
Not
he did
too
it.
shabby.
Yeah, no, back then, a lot of change. And he said 2 reasons he did it, or 2 reasons he accepted the role, were he had to pay alimony, and his daughter was in a rock band at the time and needed some financing. So he had to do some work. So that's why he took the role.
Carpenter only made $10,000 on this movie, and Jamie Lee Curtis only made $8,000.
$8,000, exactly.
But Deborah Hill,
His daughter.
Deborah Hill took no
I was
salary.
gonna say, like his daughter actually was a fan of Carpenter's music from a previous movie.
Yes,
and that's how.
Yeah, the Assault on Precinct 13, which it was a campy movie. I saw it later, probably on cable, but it was bigger in Europe, and that's why. So Donald Pleasence is from England, and yeah, Tony, you're right. His daughter saw that movie and loved the music from it, so she told her father, "Yeah, you should do this movie." So and then we see something that doesn't really pop up in movie title credits anymore. It's introducing Jamie Lee Curtis, because this was her first feature role. She was in a TV series, I can't remember the name of it, that she actually was on hiatus at the time, was able to do this movie, but it was her first feature role. She was nervous as hell, but being Janet Leigh's daughter had a lot to do with why Carpenter wanted her. So he went after her and got her. She was excited to do the movie. So it opens, as we said earlier, the credits are done. It opens in Haddonfield, Illinois. It says Halloween 1963. The cool thing about this first shot, and it goes back to our first episode in Goodfellas, having one of the most famous continuous shots in movie history. This first scene is continuous.
Well, it's actually 3 shots.
Yeah, I was going to say, this homeboy cheated, because when you watch this, I picked up on one. That was when he put the mask on.
Yes, there's one.
Okay, all right.
But I know there's some other hidden cuts in this sequence.
It's after the actual murder happens.
Yeah, when he's leaving the room.
He did it well. Carpenter did it well. He showed his genius, because I couldn't tell.
And I think
I'm being honest with you.
I think it took a couple of days just to shoot that scene.
Yeah, it did.
Now, let me address something in this scene, because this movie's fresh in my mind. We just watched this, so we see this scene from the perspective of Michael and the boyfriend and his sister are getting at it. Are we to believe that they had sex?
Well, it happened in
really
1 minute and
fast.
6 seconds.
The fastest sex ever.
Yeah.
Actually, this whole movie is like the fastest sex ever.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's
It's not the only time that happens. We get a lot of Minute Men.
Maybe that's why he's killing him. He's doing.
You're doing it
I have
wrong.
nothing to live for if this is your idea.
Well, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like my first time was pretty fucking fast.
That's true.
Speak for yourself,
That
Tony.
is kind of accurate. Yeah.
So
But yeah,
apparently-
we see. What's that?
Oh, no, I was gonna say the girl, the sister, the one that was killed in the beginning, that was PJ Souls, and she was actually married to Dennis Quaid at the time. And when they were in the movie theaters watching it, and that scene came on, and she goes, "Do you like what you see?" Apparently, some guy yelled out, "Yes, I do." And then Dennis Quaid asked if at the time they were dating, asked if he wanted to go back there and beat up the guy, and she said, "No, it's okay."
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
actually that was Linda. I think it was the character.
Right. PJ Souls
yeah.
played
Yeah.
Linda. She didn't play the sister.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought she was the.
No,
I thought
she was
the
Linda.
sister. Oh, you're right.
How
No,
dare you,
I got
Joseph?
him backwards.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Fuck you. It's late. It's midnight.
Yep. Yeah.
I've been up since 3 a.m.
Continuous shot or not, thank you for the correction, boys. It's filmed all in first-person perspective from Michael's eyes. You see him putting on the mask. You see his arm reach down and grab the knife from the drawer. He sneaks around and, here's the boyfriend coming down the stairs, so he knows his sister's alone now. As he's walking up the stairs, the grandfather clock in the house starts to ring and lets us know it's 10 p.m. He gets to the top of the stairs, and I think it's really cool the way Carpenter, when he walks into the room and he does start to stab his sister, at one point the camera angle switches to him looking at the knife.
Yep.
Because he, that was important to him, to see the knife doing its job. So it was really interesting the way he did that.
Well, also another reason, and I don't mean to cut you off, but when they cut to his hand, it was also because that's when they had to spray the ketchup on the girl's breast to show blood after the fact. I don't know if you noticed
true.
that.
That's true. That makes sense. That's good. That's good. Yeah, it was a very tame murder, if that can be used as a phrase. It's one thing that we've talked about in past episodes about how things hold up and how things don't hold up. I want to be honest up front in that when I started watching and making my notes, I took a reverential tone because of the impact that this movie has on the horror genre. But as it plays out, there's a lot of shit wrong with this thing.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of errors.
And
When you
so,
consider the budget, I mean,
yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just the campiness of things, and my notes started to reflect that. So you'll hear that as we move along, because that reverential feeling sort of went away. But in any case, it's one of the coolest horror movies ever. But then we see Michael outside. The camera finally pans away from the first person. And we see Michael standing there. His father takes the clown mask off, and you see this little boy. He's absolutely adorable, but there's nothing there. I mean, and for a kid actor, he did a damn good job. For 5 seconds worth of screen time to demonstrate that there was absolutely nothing behind those eyes, except the evil to come. So
now this was the first scene that I ran into, as far as like, oh, that's a weird choice, is when the parents come in the front yard and he's standing there with the knife. It's almost like that shot's on a crane, so it's pulling back really slowly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost feels like Carpenter was like, all right, freeze. I'm going to make this a freeze frame, or I'm going to do something with this. And they just kind of like pantomime being frozen in time.
Yeah.
For a very long time. And it's something I never noticed before watching this movie. I was like, this feels weird. Like, I feel like
completely agree with you. I think it would have been a better result if, say, the mom would like ran into the house or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
More
what's
natural,
going on?
yeah.
Or
Worried
why do you
about
have
what
a
had
knife?
happened. Yeah.
Just
Right.
something.
Because they literally froze.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, don't move a muscle. I'm going to do something really cool
Exactly.
here, guys. Just freeze. I'm pulling back. Just hold
Yep.
it. And it's going to be in the movie just like this? Yep. Like,
Yeah, and it's interesting about the house itself. That was an abandoned house in Cali that they had to make look not abandoned for that shot. And then they had to basically restore it to abandonment after. That was the agreement they had with the owner of the house, or the owner of the property.
Is it's supposed to take place in Illinois, but named after a New Jersey city, but it's actually in California.
Yeah.
It's in South
Yeah.
Pasadena.
Yeah, it's in Pasadena. Yeah,
Yeah, I
You
mean,
can
there's
see
a lot of
palm trees in
yes.
yeah.
There's
I mean,
a lot
it
of
clearly is
continuity
California,
issues.
especially like when they go to the scene where like they're on the side of the road with the truck and like
Yes.
that, like I mean that's like just what California looks like.
movie. Right. So apparently, like the Myers house is in South Pasadena, and I think the house was moved, still in South Pasadena, but like a different street. And the houses where the girls were babysitting, it's in Hollywood because they needed to have a house that they needed to have two houses that were across the street from each other to make those window shots.
Yeah,
Exactly. And you could tell because even Laurie's house was definitely not in the same neighborhood as the
No.
other two houses. It was
Yeah.
a completely different style. It wasn't because the two houses where they were babysitting were certainly more Victorian. Again, because Tony's right to get those shots, and so yeah. Again, continuity was definitely an issue, but it goes back to Tony's comment about budget. I mean, they had zero budget on this thing, not zero, but I think what $300K if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
$300K, and originally
Well,
they wanted the movie to
320.
be. Was it 320?
because they had to pay the $20,000 for
Oh.
Pleasance.
Right. That's
But I
true.
think originally they wanted the movie to take place in like a week.
Yeah,
time.
they-
And
Yes.
they
Well,
were
they
like,
shot-
Yes.
They shot it over 20 days total, but they were originally going to have it. It was called the Babysitter Murders originally too.
Yes.
But then they figured out that it was easier if it all just took place in the same day, and Halloween seemed appropriate.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Now,
Although it
talking
was
about the
filmed
continuity of this movie and how they had to film in California and all that, they were trying to recreate the look of a Midwestern fall. I have an interesting piece of information for you guys. I'm not sure if you know this or not. So, they had people on set whose job it was to scatter dry leaves in the street.
Painted.
And one
dry
of those
leaves.
people was Robert Englund.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
man.
Way.
I
Really?
did
Yeah.
not know that. That's
Yeah.
crazy
I
though.
didn't. I knew about the leaves.
that's
I did
cool.
not know that about
Yeah, I
him.
didn't know
That's
about
cool.
Robert Englund.
Yeah, they had to scatter the painted leaves and then pick them up for the next scene
Yeah,
because
Those-
they only
those
had
palm-
so many
'Cause they only had so many.
painted leaves.
Those
They only had
palm
20
tree
leaves.
Yeah, those palm tree leaves.
Yes, exactly.
And-
And they also had a severe problem finding pumpkins because it was shot in
Yeah.
the spring.
yeah.
So they had to search far and wide just to get pumpkins for the movie. So, after that long pullback shot of blank stare, young Michael. Next we're in Smiths Grove, Illinois, on October 30th, night before Halloween, 1978. It's our first in our introduction to Dr. Loomis, Donald Pleasance. He's in a car with a nurse driving in a rainstorm, and they are headed to the mental hospital to assist with the transfer of now adult Michael to a prison that's a little further away. Donald Pleasance, or Dr. Loomis, he's nervous, he's subdued. He's very concerned about this because, as we learn later, he's the only one who knows the true evil that's inside of Michael.
Pure evil.
Exactly. So,
Impression.
that's when the music starts again. That iconic music starts again. And out the front window of the car, we see some patients from the hospital milling about in
Literally-
the field.
the scariest part in this movie to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
To me, that was the scariest
Yeah.
part too.
Oh,
I
Tony,
agree.
that's what my wife said too. That's the
Yeah.
scene in this movie that freaks her out the most. Is just them walking
100%. Because you
Still
know what?
does.
It's real. It's absolutely real. Like if you could come across that and shit yourself from seeing it because
Yeah.
These patients are milling about. The car stops. The doctor gets out to find out what's going on, and the nurse solidifies her stupidness in this movie by deciding to, after a patient jumps on top of the car, the smart
Roll the window.
move is to open the window so that he can
know-
reach in and start to choke her.
But do you know she lived? Not only she lived, she comes back in the next Halloween movies,
Yes.
like for a couple.
Really?
Movies. Yeah, she does.
Oh, so she
Like
works
the
at that
scene-
hospital that Jamie Lee Curtis is
Yeah.
in too?
She's
Oh,
in,
wow.
She's in Halloween 2 and I think Halloween 6, if I remember.
That's
correctly.
great.
Yeah.
And that's great. I like that. I always like the callbacks like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So she does survive. And then Loomis quickly figures out what's happened. I mean, and that's what he says. He says he's gone. He's gone from here. The evil is gone. So he's now completely freaked out because he again knows what Michael is capable of.
In this whole movie, Michael Myers' whole deal is very Frankenstein-like. He's got this slow walk going on. And in this scene, before he gets the mask, he's straight up like Spider-Man's up on top of the skull.
I know. Yes, exactly.
Like, it's very fast and unnerving. So that threw me a little bit.
Yeah.
And I believe that's a different actor.
Yes,
the whole part with the car is a different actor than the actual guy that played, which is Nick.
Yeah, there's like 5 people that play him throughout the movie.
There were 3 people that played him. It was that guy, and then there was who they called the Shape. So that was Michael with the mask through the whole movie, and then a third guy. What did you say his name was, Tony?
It was Nick Castle was the main guy.
Exactly.
And then Tony Moran was the other one.
Tony Moran was the one when the mask was off. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
And then the other one was a dog trainer.
An actor. It was
he was on
like
set.
That.
He was on set just for the hell of it, and then Carpenter asked him to be the guy to pull the mask off. I guess that he liked his look.
Yeah.
So it is another inconsistency is exactly we've got Walking Dead zombies and then we got World War Z zombies, in the same movie.
Well, the funny part is John Carpenter. He's mentioned in the past that the movements that Michael Myers made were based on the Yul Brynner's robot assassin from Westworld, like the movie Westworld.
Really?
Whoa,
that's where
that's interesting.
If you watch Westworld, the
that.
way the Man in Black moves in the movies,
yes,
that's very similar.
I can see that. By the way, side note, we're going to do that movie.
Yep,
because that's one of my favorite.
And Future
sci-fi
World probably.
movies.
We'll do a double feature: Westworld and Future World.
Oh, sorry. I remember hearing that Carpenter gave his direction to Castle was basically like no direction. It's like just play this guy as you would think this crazy killer would be.
Right. Right.
He did great in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So then the mental hospital scene fades to black and we're brought back up in the peaceful looking town of Haddonfield on Halloween in 1978. So it's the next day. We're introduced to Laurie, Jamie Lee Curtis's character Laurie. She leaves her house to start to walk to school. Her dad reminds her that she needs to drop the key off at the house. Doesn't really say what house it is. He goes on his way to work and she's walking to school. As she's walking, we meet her babysitting client, Tommy, the little kid. So he comes up and they start talking about, what they're going to do for Halloween night. We're going to watch movies. We're going to trick or treat. We're going to carve a pumpkin, all the good stuff. They're very excited about Halloween. We get our first look at the abandoned Myers house when Laurie stops in front of it because this is where she needs to drop the key because her father's got a sales lead on it and it looks like they're going to sell it. Tony tries to stop her from going it because it's the haunted house. We've all had those in our neighborhood. I had one down the street from me, that we used to dare each other to go into, and this is that house. So she sneaks the key under the door. She's not at all afraid, regardless of what Tommy's told her. And, that's where we get our first view of Michael. So he's already made it back to Haddonfield to hatch his plans. He is inside the house. Already has the mask because we can hear him breathing through the mask and we can see that sort of crazy hair sticking out because the shot is from behind. So somewhere in that brain of his, he imprints on Laurie and Tommy and has already decided that they're, on his list.
So let me ask you, what do you guys think it is about Laurie that he gets so attached to? Because she's the only one in the movie that's not like a fun girl, like sex, having sex and all that stuff. Like, what do you think it's about her that he gets so
Well, I think what makes this movie terrifying, and forget the sequels, forget Laurie being a sibling and all of that stuff that they added later on.
Of course.
I think just the fact that it's random, that this was the first person that came up to the door.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it scary. The fact that they added all that other stuff was kind of... I think even Carpenter said, like, I sort of regret making them related, because it was scarier that it was just like...
Yeah.
You know, I saw her, and I saw this little boy, and I started following them to school, and that made it very unsettling, you know?
Well, there's something about this movie that a lot of the slasher movies didn't have before. To like, and this is something. It's not my own thought. It's just something that I heard somewhere else, and it was like all these slasher movies. You can't. The characters had to go somewhere to get killed. In this movie, it's like the killer is coming to your neighborhood. This looks like anybody's neighborhood.
Yeah,
you see what I mean?
Right.
And yeah, so that's why I love that. That thought of like it's like this is kind of like the first person, and he gets attached just because.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, and nope, I agree totally. And I one of the things I read that Carpenter said is that he and Deborah Hill, they had no intention of setting this up as the Virgin being the only one with enough power to stop the bad guy. That wasn't their intention. It came off like that, but it wasn't their intention because they did want to focus, exactly on what Tony said. It's that he imprinted. He saw her first, but he also saw her relationship, or instantly registered her relationship with Tommy, and it connected him to her, but bothered him too because he never had that, and that goes back to his childhood. Being obviously being messed up in some way or another. We don't find out how. Or maybe,
I mean, this is just like literally, I just thought of this. Or maybe he sees himself in Tommy as his sister would. You see where I'm going with this? Like, because he's very protective of Tommy. Like he kind of scares the bullies later on, and now I feel like he sees himself in Tommy, and then he killed his sister, so maybe there's something to that. Like he sees like Laurie as his sister, like maybe
in a way.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell exactly, but yes, that could be it too. So I mean, the scene is. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say one of the things I think that it wasn't necessarily because she was pure or virgin that he wasn't killing her. It's that while everyone else was preoccupied with getting laid, they didn't realize that there was a killer out there. While she is actually, has a lot more time to like pay more attention and be more alert because she's not preoccupied.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because the whole movie, she's got this kid in her ear like, the boogeyman.
I know,
it's just like, God damn it. Oh, look.
Yep.
Yeah, and the rest of them are just like, can I get some?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, Joe's right. Carpenter did say that, and that's why he said he regrets that afterwards it looked like that whole virgin thing, but that was definitely not their intent when they were writing, the script. So, I mean, this scene is, again, it's sort of continuous in the fact that it's just leading them to school. Tommy peels off to head to the elementary school, and Laurie's walking alone. And this is something interesting. She starts singing a song that I found out later that Jamie Lee Curtis made up almost on the spot. And it's, of course, a foreboding song because she says, I wish I had you all alone, just the two of us. That's the line she sings. And then it cuts to Michael out on the sidewalk behind her looking at her. So we get our first full view of Michael in the mask and the mechanic's jumpsuit that he wears. But yeah, she made that up apparently.
The mask is actually Captain Kirk with his eyes cut out and stretched.
She had to make up a song like because they probably spent all their budget on "Don't Fear the Reaper," which
exactly. That's
which
true.
For some reason, I felt like could have benefited from more cowbell.
Just
Good point. Good point. So she made up that song. Again, we see Michael. She of course doesn't notice him. She doesn't notice much. None of them do. That's just a thing. And then our next scene is Dr. Loomis leaving the hospital where Michael has escaped from, and he is laying into the hospital administrator who just straight up fucked up.
He also
it's his
parked
fault
in the
that Michael
handicap
got
spot.
out. Yes, he did, didn't he? I noticed that too.
Yeah.
I was going to say something. He did. Not a care in the world. It was all right. It was the 70s. No one gave a shit.
I guess not.
I was there. I know. Yeah, he just lays into him. And then, there's a reference to him driving a car. The hospital administrator says that's crazy, and then Loomis has some sarcastic line about, yeah, well, he probably learned that from someone here too. And then he gets in the car and almost runs the administrator over, backing out, and then heads
Which
out.
is a great way to explain why he can drive.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, and then we come to another, one of those Carpenter foreboding scenes to let us know what's to come. It's a classroom shot at the high school. Again, the high school full of 24-year-olds. Because none of them. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis was the only actor on set that was a teenager, but even she looked like she was in her 20s. I mean, it's crazy, but that's what happens.
Which actually makes it, once I found out about that, it made it okay for me, because you do see breasts.
Yes.
And then you do see kind of like a sexualized things happening, and you're like, well, are these teenagers?
Yeah,
that's weird.
That's important. You're absolutely right. That can become uncomfortable. So you're right. It does make it easier to swallow.
And I will say the person I was least attracted to in the entire thing was Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
She's not my type.
If it wasn't Brooke Shields, it would have been Jamie Lee. That's all I got to say.
I'm more of a Annie guy.
Yeah, Annie was cool. See, I like PJ Souls too. But anyway, so the teacher is talking about fate. It's apparently a book they're reading by an author whose last name is Samuels. I tried looking it up. I think I might have found it, but I don't know. Just talking about fate, that no matter the course of action the character took, he was destined to his own fate. And then a larger discussion on the meaning of fate, whether it's religious or not, takes place. Laurie sort of zones out and looks out the window, and who does she see but Michael? It's the first glimpse of the car that he stole that we see. So the car's parked there. I found out that one of the production assistants was told by Carpenter to go get a car that looked governmental, and he rented that Lincoln station wagon, or what I think it was a Mercury, maybe.
It was a Ford LTD.
Yeah,
it was a Ford, the LTD,
yeah.
Right. He rented that car for 2 weeks, I believe, and they put the cage in it and the sticker on the side. So
it must have not been there for the 2 weeks that he was standing outside the house.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
So this is the first time we actually see Michael, the mask and everything, right? Because when he's at his house, we should see his shoulder.
No, right? when Tommy peels off to go to school and Laurie's singing, we do see Michael standing behind her. I don't remember if it was a behind shot, like you said, but we saw a lot more.
Yeah,
of him.
it was just his shoulder.
It was just his shoulder.
Was.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're right. Then
was.
this is the first full shot we have of Michael. He's standing behind the car, so it's really not even yet full shot. But he's standing there and he's just staring in the window directly at Laurie. She freaks the hell out, of course. Not, literally, but she becomes very uncomfortable, looks away, looks back, and he's gone. He managed to, again, that's one of those lightning moves. He did a Starsky and Hutch across the hood, so he could get in the traffic.
Actually,
no other people on the street ever.
No,
Yeah.
I know.
Actually, in the school scene, when she looks out the window and he's standing right there, right? And then they come back to her, and then she takes a second look, thinking that's usually when he would disappear, right? But
that's
no,
true.
He's still there.
He was still there. It was the third look.
It's like a fake, and then it's at the third time she looks when he's actually gone.
That's
That's
right.
true. That's very true.
In this scene, to which my wife said, "How would he know which classroom she's in?"
Yeah, I know. Yeah. There's definitely a
she's
lot
right.
going on. Yep. So that closes that scene. She looks out that third time. The car's gone. He moves like a ninja, gets in the car, and he's off without any noise whatsoever. It might be an electric car. Who knows? We can't hear it.
It is California. I mean,
Exactly.
Illinois. I mean, New Jersey.
Exactly. So next scene is school's out, elementary school. They're out. The kids are running out in their costumes. They're all thrilled. It's Halloween. They get to go trick-or-treating. Tommy comes with this gigantic pumpkin. It's bigger than him. Because again, there was a pumpkin shortage in the spring in California, so they had to take what they could get. So he's struggling with this thing, and he's got the 3 bullies behind him, and they're teasing him about the boogeyman. He doesn't know who the boogeyman is, and they're trying to fill him in on those details just to be little pricks. And those 3 kids, the actors, they played real good bullies, real good little pricks. So they torment him. As he tries to get away, he gets tripped, of course, and he lands on the pumpkin and cracks it. Another mistake continuity issue is that when the 3 kids run away, they run away from the walkway.
Yes.
And then, the scene cuts for a second, and, one of the kids is running now. He's in front of Tommy, and he runs straight into Michael.
Yep.
So that was interesting. That was very easy to catch. It's not even like I was looking for it. So yeah, there's another continuity issue there.
And they broke the only pumpkin they could find.
Yeah, exactly.
You know how expensive that pumpkin was?
Yeah. Hopefully they filmed that later. You're able to get through the rest. Yeah. So runs into Michael. Michael sort of grabs him, scares the shit out of him because he's got the mask on, though we don't see it. And the kid just takes off. So, then the music starts, and, he starts to watch and trail Tommy. So Tommy walks back the way all 3 of the other kids walked at the beginning of that scene, to start walking home from school. And Michael follows him with his eyes, sort of walks a little bit, but then we see that the car is parked there. He rounds the corner. He sort of slows down in front of Tommy or next to Tommy. Tommy doesn't even notice him. And, because, what little kid is going to pay attention to a car slowing down next to them, especially, I guess, in 1978. And then he speeds off. We hear his heavy breathing through the mask. In every scene he's in that we're viewing from his perspective, that heavy breathing is always there. Yeah. And it was there in the opening scene too, behind the clown mask. It obviously was not as prevalent because it was a 6-year-old kid, but that breathing is always there just to let us know that, it's funny because his breathing never increases. So, they're sort of trying to let you know that he's in control, that nothing is going to incite him or stop him from getting.
It's really cool when you think about it.
Yeah, to complete his mission, whatever evil he's got going on in his head. So it's pretty interesting. So then the next scene, we cut to Dr. Loomis in a phone booth. He's trying to convince the police that Michael's coming, but they don't want to hear it. It's a crazy story. He drops the great line, if you don't believe me, it's your funeral. It's a real sympathetic guy, that Loomis. He doesn't give a fuck. He just needs to stop Michael.
What I wonder is, I know like when he was like 6, he killed one person, but has he killed like a bunch of people throughout this that we just don't know about? Like,
No.
Why is he so scared of somebody who killed somebody when they were 6?
No, he was locked up, and Dr. Loomis explains that to Brackett, the sheriff, later in the movie, in that, he studied Michael for 8 years, 7 years maybe, and tried to keep him locked up for 8 more.
I mean,
because,
I can tell you exactly what he told him. He says, "What was living behind those boys' eyes was purely and simply evil."
Evil. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, you can have evil people that don't go around killing people all the time. Like, how did he know he was just going to go on a killing spree?
Yeah,
Well,
because he's
he
a
said
6-year-old
he had
kid
the
who killed
bracket's eyes, the devil's
someone.
eyes.
Right.
Yeah,
I think, and of course,
I think the whole.
But I
the
mean,
whole-
what if he just went and then ran for president?
all right now.
Stone.
All right now.
Well, I think
We're
you have
not-
2 things going on, right? Like, this guy is so paranoid about what this boy/man is because of, the psychological study he's done of him. And he explains that, like, his eyes are looking beyond the wall. He's just waiting
Yes.
and waiting and waiting.
Exactly.
So it's a 50-50 shot. He could be wrong about that, and Michael Myers could become well-adjusted and cured in some way.
Right.
Or he could be totally right, and
Yeah.
in this case he was. So I think it was more about just the threat of what would happen if that was unleashed upon the world. Like, he knew him so intimately. Like, this guy's devoid of any compassion or empathy. He's just inhuman.
Yeah, I think to
Right.
me, like, and this is going to probably show later in the episode when we talk about our ratings, but they could have done a lot better with the plot of this movie.
Yeah,
Strong
mean-
words, my friend.
Like,
it's early Carpenter. It's
mean-
early John Carpenter. He was still learning in my eyes
yeah,
at this point.
there's a lot like that. They just you have to fill in the gaps yourself on a lot of it.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Well, in the scene we're talking about now, so Loomis is in the phone booth, right? He threatens the cop, telling him it's your funeral. And then for some inexplicable reason, he notices an abandoned truck. He walks over there and he finds a matchbook that says the Rabbit in Red Lounge. You know, it sounds like a fucking fun place.
Yeah.
And then he runs to the car. But nothing of that ever comes up again. Like, so
Well, that same matchbox was the matchbox that the nurse used to light up her cigarette at the very
Yeah.
beginning.
oh crap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're here, Tony.
dude, I'm telling you, I
did
watched
your homework,
I watched
man.
the entire series last year, and
Okay.
then I just watched the movie right before this
All
show,
right.
and I have notes.
Yeah, Tony's,
No,
Tony's
it's great.
absolutely right. That matchbook is just there to signify that it was Michael because that matchbook
was
was in
there.
the nurse's car.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Yep. Then, well, thank you for correcting or informing, because now I understand that. Yeah. So, all right. So we get through that. Now we're back in high school. Lori and Linda. So we meet Linda for the first time, PJ Souls. They're leaving school. They're complaining
totally.
about. Yes, exactly. They're
Smoking
complaining
cigs.
about learning cheers, and Linda's complaining about learning too many cheers, having no time to do it, and Lori basically sarcastically shuts her down, just telling her to stop bitching, in essence. And then we're introduced to the third member of the crew, Annie. She runs from behind and catches up with them. They are talking, they're all talking together. Lori remembers that she forgot her chem book. She's debating on whether to go back for the book because she is the bookworm in the crew. But at that point, Michael rounds the corner in the car. The music starts again, that same, the same iconic music. And then Annie in 1978 sarcasm, "Hey jerk, speed kills," because that's a zinger.
Yep. Which especially he can hear from half
Yeah.
a mile down the road.
Exactly,
Oh, yeah.
exactly, because he's already
Superhuman
way
here.
past. But
There's also a great quote unquote joke or an attempt to a joke in that scene, and it's when they're talking about the babysitting, and I think it was Linda, right? That says about Annie. It's like, you're just looking for a place to. You're referring to sex, but she goes like, you're just looking for a place to, and then Lori stops and says shit. And then,
Yes.
and
Yes,
he
she
says like, I have
stops,
a place
yes.
for that.
exactly.
Now, in
Yep.
our last episode, which was Ghostbusters, we talked a lot about good prov. Like, in this scene, it always bothered me, and this is probably a director thing, when she's talking about forgetting her book, and then the response to that is like filler dialogue about how books are not important.
Right. I forget
Feels
my
like
books every
John
day.
Carpenter was like, hey, just talk about forgetting books and books don't matter, and do that for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And so she's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I always forget my chem books, and my math books, and my history books, and all my books, and who needs books? And I don't even like books. And do you read books? And it's like, it grates on me so much.
Exactly. So,
Then the other girl was like, I don't even have any books or something. What did she say?
yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
I
What's
forget
a
my
book?
books. I forget all my books.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I lost my place for a second here. All right. Yeah.
So,
then,
speed kills.
yeah, speed kills. Michael slams on the brakes for a second and stops. And then he starts going again, and Annie chimes in. Someday you're gonna get us all in deep trouble. So, kind of like Captain Obvious foreboding at that point.
I would have loved it
she's-
at that moment if he would have got out of the car and then walked up to the front of the car and then walked away with a turtle in his hand and then set it on the sidewalk. Because he obviously didn't hear her, but he stopped the car not to run over the turtle.
Exactly. So, then they start discussing Halloween night plans. Again, as Tony mentioned, it's all involved about how they're all going to be able to do it. You're going to go here. I'm going to go there. We're going to meet here. I'm going to go upstairs there. So we can all do it. It was like, Annie and Linda, obviously that's was all they were thinking about the whole day and the whole night.
Which makes me think that Annie and Linda, like, it's like a weird, like Lauren would she wouldn't be friends with them in real life.
Yeah.
It's
No,
like
exactly.
completely different people.
That's true.
Well, I mean, what
Very
if they all
true.
grew up together, and she doesn't really have any friends because she's kind of a nerd, and like those are the only girls that'll talk to her.
I guess so.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, they definitely don't have a ton in common,
Yeah.
Well,
And
they're all
also because of the
babysitters.
fact of how empty the streets are there, nobody must live there, so there's like nobody else for her to hang out with.
I know. In the end, we see about like 10 trick-or-treaters the whole Halloween night. It's kind of funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the next scene, though it is a continuation of the same scene, is that, Linda peels off to go home. Laurie and Annie, they keep walking a little further, and Laurie sees Michael up ahead, sort of halfway peeking out from a hedge. But you do get sort of almost a full shot of him, face on. She sees him and stops. Of course, Annie doesn't see anything because it's just, convenient coincidence that she didn't see anything. Laurie tells her she sees the creepy guy from the car. Annie walks up, and of course there's no one there. Michael's already gone. He did the ninja work again and vanished.
Yes. If you look at that house, like the way the bush is, it's a really far.
Oh, it's long.
walk.
Absolutely. To get to the
It's
next street,
really
it's
long.
crazy. Oh yeah.
So he had to like sprint it.
Yeah,
Yep.
he was hauling ass.
Exactly. No, he just snapped his fingers and he threw the smoke bomb and he ninja'd away. That's what he did.
Always makes me think of this movie called The Legend of Leslie Vernon, and it's about a very Michael Myers-esque serial killer, but he's got a documentary crew following him, and he's explaining how to do these things. He's like, man, you got to do a lot of cardio to make it look like you're not moving fast and walking slow,
Oh, that's great. That's
Wait,
great.
what is
Yeah, I
this
love
called
that.
again?
Leslie Vernon, The Legend of Leslie Vernon.
That sounds
I'm
good.
gonna write that down.
So funny.
It's really good.
All right. Yeah. So, all right. So after that, they get to Annie's house. She peels off and goes in the house. Laurie continues a little bit, and it's kind of creepy at first because she bumps into Sheriff Brackett, who is Annie's father. She bumps into him, but it's like it's set up like he's a creepy guy.
Yeah.
The way, because he stays real close to her, and you don't see that
Throughout
he's
the
the
movie.
sheriff first. Yeah,
Like,
you don't
he's-
see
he
that
scares
he's the
more
sheriff,
people than Michael Myers.
right? And
It's the sideburns.
he's almost leering at her, and then oh, hi, Mr. Brackett. And I'm like, oh God, all right, it's the sheriff. We're
Like,
going to
I think
assume
he
he's
scares
okay.
Loomis. He scares Loomis the same way like 3 times throughout the movie.
Exactly.
I feel
He just-
like,
I think yeah.
He like time traveled to the year 2017 to be in Stranger Things also. 'Cause he
Oh
looked
yeah.
Yes,
just like the sheriff in Stranger Things.
exactly. You're right. Same outfit, everything. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Hair and everything.
Yep.
I wonder
why
if they
is he
modeled that,
sneaking
that
up on
character
everybody?
on him.
I know.
Yeah.
He does. He does. So, so here Laurie finally gets home. She gets scared. She hears some noise. She gets scared. But it just turns out to be trick-or-treaters, And I do have to say, personal throwback. I talked in the last episode about my Ford Maverick. Parked in front of the house where the trick-or-treaters are coming from is a Ford Maverick, probably around a 71, 72. So that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. Reminisced for a second, So, and then she says out loud to herself, well, kiddo, I thought you outgrew superstition. Another Captain Obvious foreboding moment,
Yeah.
where she's writing it off at this point still for, as just her being spooked about things.
Definitely. Also, why are these kids trick-or-treating at 2:00 in the afternoon?
Yeah, well, I mean, the elementary school kids got out, and they're all loose now. I mean, they've been
Well,
out of school
because
now
because
for,
their parents have to go to their swing parties at night.
Pretty much, yeah.
Tony, this is what I said to my wife. I was like, we got to go back to the days where on Halloween night, we're out of here, man. Like, these
Exactly.
kids could fend for themselves. We're going to go party crazy.
Exactly. And as Tony said, yeah, let's go to the key party. So
Doug even knows the terminology.
all right, hey.
Hey, he was around back then.
That's right. So Lori's in the house now. She puts her stuff down. She's in a room. She puts her stuff down. Her window's open. So she goes to the window to close it. She looks down, and in the neighbor's yard by the clothesline, again, is Michael looking right up at her window. So he already knows which room she lives in and where to exactly stand so he can scare the shit out of her.
Yeah. But she doesn't lock the door.
No, absolutely not. She just slams the window closed because that's going to save everything on the second floor. Yeah. And again, this is how, my notes started out reverential, but by this point, I'm just starting to get more and more sarcastic as I watch this movie. The phone rings. She answers the phone. Nobody's there. All you hear is some clicking or chewing, whatever it is. She hangs up. It rings again, and it's Annie. And it was her the first time. She says, "Yeah, it was me. You didn't hear me." And again, out loud, she tells herself to calm down. She's getting worked up about nothing. At least that's what I think is going on in her head. She's still not convinced, even though she's seen this guy multiple times in a mask, and it does not concern her other than she's being superstitious.
In her yard.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, I mean, it is Halloween. Maybe he just has a costume on.
Well, yeah, okay. I think that's what Carpenter might have hoped we would think. And in 1978, that's probably what I thought, if I remember correctly. But, come on. Let's be a little realistic now, Here's me being the old guy not suspending disbelief anymore, like I tell everybody to do. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, you can let Joe Pesci be a 65-year-old
exactly.
Tommy.
30-year-old. Yes, exactly. So, next scene, Lori and Annie had made plans. Annie was going to pick her up because they're babysitting, kids across the street from each other. So Lori goes outside, sits on the corner. She watches some trick-or-treaters, and then Annie arrives and, without looking each way to see if cars are coming, she runs across the street and gets in Annie's car. But, again, 1978, you didn't have to worry about that. Cars were soft, so it's okay. So, yeah, that's when Annie takes out the joint, and, we see one of Lori's few vices. She likes to get high. So we cut to now Loomis in the cemetery. He drives up with the graveyard keeper to look at Judith Meyer's grave because Loomis is thinking something has to have gone on there, because that's Michael's sister. So, of course, they get to the grave, and he's right. The grave marker is missing. The grave keeper, the graveyard attendant, blames it on the kids and Halloween. But, of course, Loomis and we know Michael has the gravestone somewhere. It's probably in the back seat of the car. Who knows?
That's the good line when he says, "He came home," or something like that.
Yes, exactly. And I love the graveyard dude's banter. He's telling the stories, and he gets to the point where the guy goes, he's eating his dinner, he's quiet, he goes out and comes back with a hacksaw, and you're waiting for the end of the story, and it never comes. Yep. I did like the way Carpenter did that, because then Loomis cuts him off, and I'm like, what about the hacksaw? What did he do with the hacksaw? But we never find out what he did with the fucking hacksaw. It kills me, So... So then again, we see Laurie and Annie now. They're in full getting high mode, right? They're passing it back and forth. They're definitely doing their stuff. They want to feel good for tonight. Laurie tells Annie about seeing Michael in the neighbor's yard again, and of course, there's the music budget was blown, as Tony mentioned. Don't Fear the Reaper is playing on the radio. So
that was $250,000 worth of.
Yeah. And then we also, so we get yet another bat to the back of the head foreboding moment that something's going to happen. The one thing I noticed right away that, who knows if I saw it the first time around, from some exterior shots, we see that Michael is following them. But even in the car, when the camera's on the hood, shooting in, you see Michael behind them, tailgating them.
Yeah.
And Annie is oblivious.
He does not give them any space whatsoever.
You can't even see his headlights, okay? And she doesn't give a shit.
He's still learning how to drive.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. And I'm not blaming him, but see, if it were me, I would have brake checked his ass. Okay. But, she is completely oblivious, and then, we see the exterior shot confirming it. Yes, we already knew this, but confirming it was Michael. It's kind of funny because they turn the corner and they see her dad, and he's in the middle of like working a job, but she's paranoid about the joint, but she has to stop. She didn't have to stop.
She could have made a right.
She could have tooted the horn and waved at dad and kept driving.
She had
she
three
said,
options.
My dad.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That were not.
And they have the windows up in this car, so all that shit's just stuck in there.
Right.
Oh,
the windows are up. She yells to Lori to get rid of the joint. Where did she get rid of it? The window's up.
Now, Doug, here's my issue with this scene. I don't mean to poo-poo on this. I love this movie, but, the alarm on the hardware store is going off because it's been broken into, and what was stolen was a mask, and what did he say, some rope?
He said some Halloween mask ropes and a couple of knives.
Okay, so Homeboy's been walking around in this town with this mask on for a solid, couple of hours.
Exactly.
And not only, are we to believe that the mask was as is, like it's white with the paint and all that?
Right.
Or did he make it that way?
I mean, he had to have gone to Spirit Halloween and picked that thing up.
Well, that's what that's where your concern is.
Oh, shit. Well, maybe
I'm thinking about the alarm.
Maybe he went to the abandoned house and it had a Spirit Halloween sign on it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It is. You're telling me that alarm has been going on for hours?
Yeah. He just rolled up like, someone broke in. Like, dude, that was like 6 hours ago. What are you doing?
Yeah. Right. And, it's funny because, Lori and Annie are talking to Daddy, and, he's the worst cop ever because he, and they talk about this after, they joke about it. He has no clue. Like you said, the windows were up, so that the car is reeking, but he doesn't even notice it, doesn't say it, And, Annie tries to convince Lori that, do you saw the look on his face? There was no look on his face. He was oblivious to what was going on. Okay? There was no look on his face. They drive off, and as they leave, Loomis shows up to talk to the sheriff. So he's got to do his job to convince him in person now because, no one's listened to him yet. They start to talk, but, Brackett tells him, listen, I got to take care of this. Give me 10 minutes. And as he says that, you see Michael turn from the same road the girls just turned from onto the road where the hardware store is. Loomis doesn't even see him, but he drives right by in the car, So more obliviousness by everybody except Michael. So, we're back in the car with the girls now. They're still getting high because obviously she just must have put out the joint because they're back at it. And then they do again. They reference the weed smell and her dad not noticing, and then they start the boy talk, things like that. So,
but now Annie picked up Lori at a certain time. What was it, like 6:30?
6:30.
To take her to where? Where was she taking her?
No, they were taking her to the houses to babysit the kids.
To Tommy's house, right?
Yeah, to Tommy and Lindsay's house. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
But they were driving for a very long time.
Forever, exactly. This was a neighborhood that they walked through earlier, and now today they've got to drive for a half hour to get to.
Well, they had to smoke
and
for a while. They circled around.
That's true. They did have to finish
maybe
the
that's
joint.
what it is, yeah.
I wonder how many times they passed her dad and pulled over each time.
Yeah.
Shit, my dad.
Yep.
And, it might not have been that long. Daylight savings time didn't exist back then, and this was in October.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you nailed it.
So the sun would have went down earlier.
But that is another scene. The scene in front of the hardware store is another scene where you can clearly tell it's California.
Because you can tell it's California by the golden hour.
Yeah, exactly.
It just has that California sunset look to it. That's not what Illinois looks like.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're driving through the neighborhood now. They're high as fuck. They're driving through the neighborhood. The music starts because Michael's now right behind him again, and it's instantly dark. They were driving for so long that it just now it's dark, fully dark. So obviously that was convenient to happen. Annie drops Lori in front of Tommy's and then parks, diagonally across the street in Lindsay's driveway. Michael follows. He parks pretty much right in front of the mall. And again, they don't notice him. The car is right there. Later, it wasn't there when Loomis was looking. He found it in a different spot. But, that's another continuity issue.
Well, I have stuff to say about that.
All right, cool.
Captain Kirk did get a Klingon ship which would have a cloaking device on it. Maybe since he has the Captain Kirk mask, he put a cloaking device on the LTD.
That's how he did it.
Trying to figure out how this car was not seen by anybody ever.
Yeah. So, Michael parks, he gets out of the car, follows Lori a little bit to watch her again. Lindsay's parents leave as Annie gets there, and none of them notice Michael yet again. He's there. He's like the Invisible Man, he's Drax, he can stand so perfectly still that no one can see him.
Still.
Okay. And it works. It works. So the parents leave and now the babysitting commences. Next we go to Loomis and Brackett heading to the Myers house. And it's our first opportunity to see the inside of the house in all its decrepitude, for 15 years of sitting vacant. They're in and they immediately find a dead dog. Brackett's first comment is it's still warm. And Loomis, ominously says he was hungry.
He was hungry.
And Brackett, of all the wild animals on the planet, blames a skunk for eating a dog. You know what? I've met a lot of skunks, and I don't think they eat dogs. Okay? And, regardless of where you are, you could have picked anything. If you had said raccoon, I would have been fine with it. Okay? Because they are scavengers, but he picks a skunk. Okay?
Skunk.
And the best part is Loomis's response. His first response is, could have. So he's fine with the skunk analogy.
So
he's
are
totally,
skunks like native to Illinois?
They're everywhere. Well, the funny thing is they're not everywhere because I never saw a skunk in the wild living in New York on Long Island. But, my first day here in Massachusetts, I saw a skunk and smelled a skunk. So
I was gonna say, is there wild in New York?
Well, no, on Long Island. I mean, it's the suburbs. You got, woods and, forests. It's not forest, but you got, big tracts of woods and, there are
So
wild
you must
animals
have been way
there.
out down on Long Island then.
Oh, all right. Now let's stereotype Long Island now, okay?
Well, I mean, most of it's a big city still until you get.
No,
like,
it's not.
further
Long
down.
Island. See, Long Island isn't a city. It's the suburbs. It's
What about
houses,
Brooklyn and
tree-lined
Queens?
streets. That's not Long
That's not
Island.
Long Island.
That's
Come
New York
on.
City.
Island.
It's on Long Island.
No.
Yes,
you gotta
geographically.
take like a 45-minute train into
Right.
Long Island.
But I mean, it is
geographically,
on Long Island.
Joe is right that geographically, Brooklyn and Queens are both on Long Island, what you would call Long Island. But they're part of New York City, and they have what they call suburbs there, but they're nothing like suburbs on Long Island where I lived. I mean, I lived 55 miles east of Manhattan. So again, tree-lined streets, there were woods that we used to hang out in, and yes, there were deer and there were other animals, but I never saw a skunk.
Okay, so
So
I
I
just
moved up
looked.
here.
I just looked for skunks in Illinois, and I got a website here, Illinois.gov. It says distribution and abundance. Stripped skunks are common and found throughout Illinois, and they
Okay.
actually are known to eat dogs.
Really?
Whoa.
Does it really say
No,
that?
All right.
that last part I made up.
Oh, yeah, man, you got me. Oh, that was so good. That was so good.
But apparently, no. Apparently, they're very common in Illinois. So
Yeah, all right. So that part of it makes sense, but the eating dog thing. But anyway,
Okay, here wait though.
Um,
It says striped skunks are omnivorous, eating on insects, small invertebrates, and eggs, as well as vegetables. However, spotted skunks are the most carnivorous.
well,
maybe it wasn't.
all right.
So what's the spotted skunk that they had there?
Okay, it must have been a spotted skunk. I think we're digressing a little too much here, but
Actually, the real
Again,
skunk
it would have been a lot
was in that
easier if
car
you
that
went-
her dad didn't smell.
he went with a fucking fox, which are also in Illinois, or even a coyote. All right, I have coyotes in my neighborhood here in Massachusetts. So anyway, so Brackett says, looking at the dog, he goes, "Nah, a man wouldn't do that." And Loomis, of course, with his foreboding, this isn't a man. They go upstairs to look in the room where Michael killed Judith, and a piece of something. I couldn't tell what it was.
a gutter.
Gutter, right.
was-
Piece
Yeah,
of
yeah,
gutter,
piece of
hits the
gutter
window,
falls.
breaks the window. Loomis immediately pulls a gun out.
Yeah.
He's lucky
Because that's what
Brackett didn't
doctors-
shoot him.
Yeah.
Okay, because he whips this gun out, and then his comment is to sheepishly say, "Well, I have a permit."
Yeah, he pulls the permit out. Like, yeah, the thing ready
Yeah.
holstered.
Right.
This is my
Well,
this is
obviously,
my doctor's gun.
you might have a permit, but you ain't had no training.
Yeah.
You know, you're pulling out a gun.
He's kind of
So,
like
yeah.
like in our previous review when the Ghostbusters pulled the protopacks out on the maid.
Yes, exactly. What the hell are you doing?
Oh, that would have been awesome if she was not seen.
Oh man. Yeah. So they continue the conversation, and this is the part of the conversation that Tony referenced earlier. You know,
The blackest eyes, the devil's
yes,
eyes.
the devil's eyes. Right, 8 years of trying to reach him, and another 7 trying to keep him locked up. Because I realized that what was living behind those boys' eyes was purely and simply evil. It's a cool speech, and Donald Pleasance, in all his professionalism, delivers it wonderfully. He really
Yeah,
does.
he's an
I dig that
amazing
dude.
job.
I mean, I've always loved him. I mean, The Great Escape is another movie I'd love to do, but that's a 4-hour epic, so I don't know if we'll ever get to it. He was great in that. He's great in all those movies. He's great in the other Carpenter movies. The Prince of Darkness he was in, fantastic in that. And I'm trying to remember the other one he was in. But anyway, so that's where Loomis tells Brackett that he's going to wait at the house, and the sheriff leaves. So now we're back at Tommy's house. Laurie's reading to Tommy, and Tommy asks, "What's the boogeyman?" Because the bullies have totally freaked him out about the boogeyman. So she explains that he's not real, and he can't hurt you. It's just a legend. So tries to calm Tommy down. He seems pretty cool about it. Annie calls Laurie. So Annie across the street, she calls. Lester the dog is going absolutely batshit because he knows that Michael's outside Lindsay's house where Annie is. So he just knows he's there, and he's going crazy. And man, did they get a good dog to do that.
Yeah.
I love German Shepherds, and it's funny because I got a very relatable story. We've got next door neighbors that have a beautiful young German Shepherd. The dog is maybe 1.5 years old. I've never been introduced to him directly, but there's like a 4-foot chain link fence separating our yards. The dog forever, when I come out, comes running to the fence with a ball in his mouth. He barks at me, but he wants to play. Well, that dog must have hit puberty or something, because last week I went out to barbecue and he bolted from the middle of that yard, jumped that fence without even a blink,
God.
and came at me.
Oh hell no!
And I'm telling you, the only thing that saved me was I didn't run away. His name, and here's the funny thing: I love him even more because he's a German Shepherd, and his name is Dax. Dax Shepherd. Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he's like the coolest fucking dog
He
ever.
came
right?
in while I was watching Out My Balls.
Exactly. Go away, baiting. I tried that, didn't work. But yeah, he was barking like he wasn't. He was just trying to threaten me because all I was doing was saying, Dax, no, and I was so it confused him because I wasn't backing down, and nothing happened. The owner came. They were mortified by this, and I'm not. Anyway, we'll end the story, but I'm not the kind of person that's going to do anything. They're going to put a fence up, a bigger fence, because I love the dog. But
I was gonna say, I hope you didn't like choke him out like Mike Myers did.
look, yeah, right, exactly. No, I mean, hey,
Doug pulled a gun out.
He
look,
jumped the
if he-
fence, so I picked him up and gave him a good choke.
I have a permit.
If he had actually come at me, I don't know what I would have done. But yeah, so in this case, we go back to Lester, who meets his fate. The girls keep talking, the dog's barking, and he's calling for Lindsay, and she doesn't listen. She's just watching the Thing on TV. So that's pretty cool. And Tommy sees Michael across the street and thinks it's the boogeyman. So he gets the living shit scared out of him for that. Michael's watching Annie now, and she conveniently somehow spills butter on her. They're making popcorn, and she covers her clothes with butter, so much so that she has to strip right in the kitchen.
Oh yeah.
Like completely stripped to just take her clothes off. And conveniently, one of the dad's business shirts is hanging in the kitchen. That worked. It's fine. Michael keeps watching, and that's when poor Lester gets out, and he confronts Michael, and Michael's having none of that. He as Tony described, he basically bear hugs the dog, chokes him out, and that's the end of Lester. And it's funny because the dog is barking, and Annie hears the dog, and then the dog goes, "Arr, arr," like, which is like the universal, this animal's in trouble, and she goes, "Oh, thank God," like, or something like that.
He goes like, "Oh, never mind," or something.
Never
like
mind.
That.
Yeah, something. It's like,
he must have
you
ran
hear a
toward
dog
them
do
skunks.
yeah, exactly.
I think she
Big
even
Lester.
remarks like, "Oh, he must have found a girlfriend."
Something.
Like even the
yeah.
dogs in
Yes,
this movie are
that's
trying
what
to
he
get some
said.
ass.
That's what he said. Yes. So, so poor Lester the dog. I mean, it's funny because my dad was always one of those people that, he had a shirt that the more people I meet, the more I love my dog. Like that, he probably never saw Halloween, but he would have been crushed. Like that would have been the worst part of the movie for him, is having the dog, meet his fate like that. So
It wasn't a Jurassic Bark though.
don't do it.
Sorry,
Don't.
Doug.
Don't do it. All right, Eric, have you seen that one, a Futurama?
No.
Okay. All right. We're not even going to get into it.
It's
all right,
the saddest thing you'll ever see in an animated TV show.
Because Eric, I know that you're like me. This fucking episode made me bawl my eyes out. I'm
no,
not
we
kidding
don't-
you. A
I don't
fucking
need
cartoon. A
Oh,
cartoon.
you do. You need it. It just shows you how good that show is.
Yes, a cartoon did that to me. So anyway, we're going to move on. All right. Now we're back in Tommy's house. So Laurie and Tommy, they are watching the original Thing, which I think is cool. This is 4 or 5 years before Carpenter did his remake. So I don't know how far along in his process internally he was about it, but he definitely loved that movie because it was that one, and it was a bit of Forbidden Planet that was shown on the TV, in both houses while the kids were watching. So we see a bit of the original Thing. There's some more boogeyman talk because Tommy's not letting it go because now he saw Michael and thinks the boogeyman is there. And even though Laurie had plans to make the jack-o'-lantern much later, she needed to distract Tommy. She knew it, and they decided to go make the jack-o'-lantern. Then we have the Annie's laundry scene, which is another classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, she walks back to the laundry shed. The lights don't work, but
But the laundry
the rest of
machine
how
works.
it works. Yeah, because that works fine. So, door closes behind her. It actually is, though we don't see him because he does it later where we do. It is Michael that's closing the door because when it closes, then we see Michael looking in. Annie, of course, does not notice him at all. She thinks it's her boyfriend, Paul, playing tricks on her. The door slams yet again, and this time she can't open it because for some ridiculous, convenient reason, it locks from the outside. Okay. We find that out when Lindsay comes to get Annie, that there's a lock on the outside. So why, I don't know. It's strange. Well, I guess, all right, a lock on the outside so people can't get in. No, you can unlock it from the outside so people can get in. I'm contradicting myself. It's stupid. All right. Yeah, so, Lindsay, Paul, Annie's boyfriend Paul calls. Lindsay answers. And Paul, she basically hangs up on him, but at least she says, yes, I'll go tell Annie. And that's what happens. She goes out back. She goes out back, unlocks the door, goes inside, and finds Annie halfway out the window and stuck.
Which is something that I thought it only happened in porn.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've seen
Damn
a
it,
few
I was
videos
just
that
going to
started
say
this
that.
way.
I was just going to say that. Yes, you are right, Tony. You nailed it. Exactly.
I was wondering which one of us was going to get that out first.
I know,
Yeah,
I know.
Like even Paul didn't believe her.
Right. Exactly. So so they hear they exit the laundry shed after her laundry's getting cleaned. They exit the shed, go back to the house as the phone's ringing, and it is Paul. So she answers the phone, and wait a minute, now I'm losing track again. Damn it, guys, sorry.
No, you're good. There's a lot going on in the movie at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So she talks to Paul. They make the
pick him up.
plans. Yes, exactly. Yes, he tells her that she needs to pick him up. So we go then back to the Meyer house, and Loomis is hiding in the bushes, which isn't too creepy, because guess who shows up but the three bully kids.
Yeah.
You know, and the two bigger ones are you know, they're trying to make the little one go in, or the smallest one go into the house. And Loomis puts on like the worst scary voice.
Yeah.
I forget the kid's
It's
name.
my favorite line in the movie.
No, it's
Get your ass out of here, Lonnie.
Exactly. In that proper British accent, you know. So he says that, so the kids take off, and that's where. What's that?
I was gonna say, is it me or because they go back to Loomis hiding in the bushes like 4 times, like 3 or 4
Yes.
times.
Yeah.
Is it me or does it look like every time they switched to him, it looked like he was taking a piss, like he was hiding, taking a piss behind the bush.
Exactly.
I don't know, but every time I switched to him, he made like $3,000.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. You know,
Well, Loomis
could
is
actually
posted
hear-
up outside this house for a solid couple of hours, and
Yeah.
that car that he finally notices parked across the street.
you know.
I was like, "Come on, dude!"
I know,
I
it's
did
crazy.
not see that car across the street.
Yeah. But and then that's, you know, we referenced this earlier, but after Loomis scares the kids, Brackett scares Loomis.
Yes,
He
exactly.
comes up behind him. I'm just wondering why this time Loomis didn't pull the gun. You know?
So wait, so it's just like
He learned his lesson.
this police guy is just walking the sidewalk.
No,
Are we
he's
to
come
believe
back.
that?
He's come back around. Like he knows Loomis is there, so he's come back around to check in on him, I guess.
I know, but is he not driving like a police car?
No,
He
you're
likes
right.
to park.
You know what I mean?
He
Like-
likes to park like a few blocks away. Because see,
then-
this is his
Yeah.
kink, man. Like he likes just sneaking up on people.
You know, it does seem to be
I mean,
true.
in all honesty,
But,
though, he
you know-
might have just parked right next to him and he didn't see the car.
No, that's
true.
Well, it is. They're all electric. All the cars are electric. They
Yeah,
don't
he
heat
parked
them.
right in front of the LTD.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally missed it. Yep. So I mean, you know, Brackett's still skeptical at this point. Man, it's late. You know, so he's still not convinced, but then he drops the line, you know, to Loomis. If you're right, damn you for letting him go. You know, so he's already setting up the blame game here. It's great. Then we see Linda. Linda's back in the picture with her boyfriend Bob, and this is what you referenced earlier, Joe. That was originally they wanted to get Dennis Quaid to do that,
Yeah.
but scheduling conflicts, you know, squashed that. So they got the actor who probably never did anything again, yeah, to play Bob. They arrive at Lindsay's because again, the plans that they've been hatching all day are you're going to be downstairs, we're going to go upstairs and do it, and then you'll go downstairs and we'll go up. You know, they're going crazy. So wait a minute. Am I missing a scene here? Because Annie goes.
Well,
to get,
you're probably missing like when Michael carries Annie towards the front door, and what's his name? Tommy sees him through the window and he freaks out about the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but damn it, how did I miss that whole thing? I got
man.
a page missing. Yeah, I got a
Oh, we're
page.
talking
Well, she
about
goes
Loomis
looking
Edit
for her
this
keys
out,
and
Joe.
she can't find her keys
Exactly.
anywhere.
She walks all the way to the car, realizes she doesn't have her keys. She sings a song about lost keys, walks back to the house all the way inside because she's got to go around the front. Goes around the front, inside, gets her keys, go back, and that's when Michael's in the back seat.
Well,
he
what's
spends
funny
about
is she doesn't think
Yeah.
that it's weird that 2 seconds ago the door was locked and now the door is unlocked. When
exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
it hits her as she's in the car.
It does. It does.
Yeah,
When she
yeah.
sits down, you could see her go, huh? And then Michael reaches around. He chokes her for like 30 seconds before he cuts her throat. You know, it was weird.
And now, what makes
What?
him a total sadomasochist is the fact that he had to have been in the car to have locked and unlocked the car. Like, so he locked the car just to fuck with her to make her go get her keys,
that's true.
just to come back and have the door unlocked.
That's
he could
very
have killed
true.
her the first time she got in the car because
Yep.
he obviously didn't have a way to unlock the car from the outside.
No, that's
Oh,
true.
he might have had the spare keys.
Not
Yeah.
possibly, but
Yeah.
I like that Michael Myers is just a troll. Like he's just like,
I know, right? He just
he's
messing
like,
with
I'm
people.
gonna kill this bitch, but first I'm gonna fuck with her.
Well, that was kind of the whole thing with the laundry room scene. It was like he could have easily just rushed into the room and killed her, but he was like, I'm going to lock this door. And then I'm going to sneak around to the back and look in the window. And then I'm going to... It's like, dude, be more direct.
He wanted to see the panty shot. Because we wouldn't have got that shot had he killed her right away.
That's true. It's like, maybe she's going to get stuck, like in all those videos.
Right. So now Annie's dead, and we cut to we see it's Tommy. Does Tommy see her carrying the body? Does anybody see him carrying the body? He does. Tommy sees him carrying the body in the house. Yes. And so Michael brings the body in the house, but then turns off all the lights, and then the next scene is Linda pulling up with Bob in that glorious 70s hippie van. Like that thing, the pinstriping on it thing's remarkable. It's
super
amazing.
happy the Belchers pulled up.
The what?
The Belchers, Linda and Bob.
Yeah. Yes. So they pull up. Bob runs around and starts to carry her out. They don't close the car door, by the way. The passenger car door is left wide open. It is closed later.
It's the 70s.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the door's left wide open. They get in the house. The lights are off. They do work, but they're off. So they Linda picks up the phone and calls Lori to find out what's going on. So that's when Lori informs her that Annie's going to get Paul, her boyfriend. So that's the best news that Linda and Bob have ever heard, because now they've got, unfettered use of the house. So they immediately go upstairs and, start the fun. It works out well for them. We jump to Tommy's house, where they are carrying the jack-o'-lantern into the dining room. Wow, how did I get things out of order? Guys, I'm so sorry.
I don't know, but why when they have a perfectly good van are they looking for random people's houses?
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, I know. Because there's a bed in the back of that thing.
Has to be.
Absolutely.
There is.
10 years later, Venkman bought it.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're probably right.
Exactly. But, I guess it's a thing about how many different places you can do it. So,
Maybe.
But, so they're upstairs in the bedroom, and they're going at it in the I guess the parents' room at this point, because it's a nice big double bed. So the phone rings, and they put it off the hook. Then we see that Michael is watching them. All right. We have confirmed that Bob is a Minuteman, just like the boyfriend, Judith's boyfriend in the beginning, because
And apparently he loses a boner when the phone rings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. But he's done really fast. But she seems satisfied. She doesn't have a problem with this as long as he gets her a beer.
Yeah.
Well, apparently it's more like, with them, it's more like quantity, not quality, because when he gets the beer, he says, like, don't get dressed, letting us know that they're going to get back at it.
Exactly. It's the rabbit effect, definitely.
Oh, man. To have that kind of energy again. My God.
Right?
Right?
Yeah. So we go down. We watch Bob go downstairs to get the beers. Again, the lights are there. They work, but they're not on. Bob does notice that the door is ajar. We hear Michael breathing, and then he grabs Bob and lifts him off the ground without an issue, and drives that knife through him hard enough to stick him to the wall, which obviously we know is not possible. But,
yeah, physics won't allow that one to actually happen.
It's just not possible. Maybe if he had a spear, but not with that knife.
If you watch that scene carefully, he stabs him into the middle of two folding closet doors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
And
in
he
the
has
direct-
his stomach.
Yeah.
You don't want to
stomach.
lower the property
Through the
value.
stomach. Right.
Yeah, he dies instantly through the stomach.
Yes. But later, you see the knife when he's revealed. You see the knife in his chest. So that's another continuity error. So, then we go back upstairs now. Linda's under the sheet. And, no, I'm sorry.
He's under the
She
sheet.
thinks Bob is playing a ghost, and it's Michael. Michael has taken Bob's glasses and poked some holes in a sheet and put it over his head.
I'm just
Was
glad we
this
weren't in the
supposed to
South.
be- like, was this supposed to be? Because every time I've watched this movie, I get the same reaction. It's like funny to me.
Yeah.
Was this supposed to be like a funny scene, or
I think
E.T.? Didn't E.T. do the same thing?
I don't know.
Yes,
I think if it was, it was
100%.
unintentional. I agree I agree, but I think it
All
was
I'm saying
unintentional.
is, I'm glad it wasn't in the South, because then it would have been even more scary.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No, but again, it's like Michael Myers is such a troll. Like, he
Right,
went out of his.
right.
He's like, check this out. I'm gonna put this sheet on. I'm gonna take his glasses off. I'm gonna put his glasses on. Watch this. Look.
Yeah. Yep. And I just want to take a step back in general to show you the difference in movies then versus now, building suspense. The first murder, Annie's murder, doesn't take place till 50 minutes into the movie, or 55 minutes into the movie, I think. So it's almost an hour into an hour and a half long movie before anybody of note is murdered. Okay? And then
Well,
it's
I mean, are you counting the sister? Which is
Yeah, it's usually
no,
about
I'm not.
25
I'm saying
seconds.
within it's within what takes place in the present.
gotcha.
I mean, yes, there's a murder within 2 minutes, but it's not even that dramatic compared to what's supposed to be happening to these people in the present. But yeah. It's like 55 minutes and then another 10 minutes before another one happens.
Well, I think that's where this movie works really well. Is the
Oh, yeah.
suspense and the stalking and like the it's uneasy.
Well, I mean, it's also like compared to the movies of today, like the number of kills. I mean, you're talking like that movie's only have 5 kills.
Yes, exactly.
Compared to a movie right now, we'll probably have like 20 kills. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, well, Friday the 13th started that instant gratification thing, where you know you had the short attention span theater is what it was compared to this. But yeah, in any case, so yeah, Michael's under the sheet. It is funny, and not intentionally funny, I don't think, but it is funny. He just stands there, and he keeps standing there, and you know that's where she drops the line. You like what you see, because she's topless, and you know, again,
hell yeah, I do.
Hell yeah, I do.
no reaction. So Linda turns around and calls Laurie, and Michael grabs the phone cord and just chokes her out. You know that she's done. She's done at that point. And you know Laurie hears the noises again and thinks it's just another prank phone call. You know she hears Annie, and she thinks Annie. You know thinks it's Annie at that point, joking like she did earlier. And then you can hear Michael listening to Laurie for a second, because again, with her, there is that connection. These kills were just kills, but there is that connection that he has to Laurie, because he's listening to her talking, and it's stimulating something inside him. You know, we don't maybe quite know what it is yet, you know, or we never know actually. This is where we go back to the Myers house, and Loomis finally finds Michael's car. You know, because he's wandering the neighborhood aimlessly. You know, he walks 20 feet and sees the car that's been there the whole time. You know, he runs, he looks around, he doesn't see anything. And then we change scenes again. So that was a quick one. You know, at least we know that he's on to something now. Laurie heads over to Lindsay's to find out what's going on. She knocks on the door. No one's answering. She goes around the back because the front door is locked. She goes around the back and gets in. Bob's obviously gone at this point. You know, everything looks fine. Michael did a great job cleaning up the blood and everything because, you know, Laurie sees nothing amiss. He straightened everything up.
He even fixed
Again,
the cabinet.
the lights work. Right. The lights work. They're off, but they work. But she doesn't turn any of them on. Okay. She doesn't try them. She doesn't turn them on. She decides to search the house in the dark, which is kind of convenient.
Well, I did read. I mean, I don't know if this portrays to like when they're in the houses, but like the fact that this movie was so dark is because there wasn't a budget for lighting.
Right.
So,
Nope.
yeah.
I mean, yes, and definitely that's part of it. And you know, Carpenter's trying to keep the suspense. You know,
Right.
to keep you know the spookiness of it. So it's kind of cool. It's just a little odd. It's one of those. I think it's more one of those horror genre errors in general than specifically this movie. That the kids running to the danger as opposed to away, things like that.
Yeah, it's a trope for sure. In fact, the only movie I can think of, recent horror movie, was Insidious, where the dude's walking through a dark house, and every room he goes in, the first thing he does is flip the light switch on.
Yes,
and I was
exactly.
like, oh shit, yeah, that makes
sense.
Exactly.
Yep. So Laurie makes her way upstairs, and that's where she finds the headstone on the bed with Annie, sort of, Christ-like on the bed. And she's freaking out. She moves back, and somehow he rigged Bob's body so she couldn't see it until she walked in the room, because he flips down backwards. So that was pretty cool. So he flips down. That was the closet. She opens the closet, sorry, and he flips down.
And then the other door pops open.
Yeah, there's a pantry door that opens up, and Linda's in there with her eyes bug-eyed. She runs out and leans against the wall because for some reason she has to stop instead of keep running. And Michael slowly appears in the doorway. That's a cool scene, I read, because all they did was put a dimmer on a light.
Yeah.
And they just turned the dimmer up, had it aimed directly at his face.
Well, apparently somebody knows how to use a light in that house.
Yeah, exactly.
No, dude, that was like that's always been my favorite scene in that whole movie. Is that right there?
That was very well done. An ingenious way to do it. And it was definitely scary. I remember being in the theater and just like almost crapping myself just when that happened, because you knew something was coming, but the way they did it was fantastic. So, that was excellent. He's been Mr. Dead Aim up until now.
Yeah, that was gonna say it's like such a good scene.
Yeah,
but so disappointing at the same time.
And then he misses her and awkwardly hits her blouse and
clear shot.
Yeah. He sort of kind of nicks her a little bit, but it's not even that bad. And it gives her the opportunity to, not the opportunity, because she falls down the stairs from this and injures her ankle. Yeah. But, he comes plodding down the stairs after her. And, she tries to get out of the house, but Michael is conveniently basically booby-trapped everything. He's got rakes in front of doors and things are locked.
Yeah, he's a regular Macaulay Culkin.
Exactly. Exactly. So, Laurie manages to move the rake and get out. She starts screaming for help, and she runs as far as the next house over and pounds on the front door. The light comes on. The woman in the house looks at her and then turns the light out, because, again, it's 1978 and people don't give a shit, even in suburban
It's also
Illinois.
Halloween. They probably think this is a prank.
Yeah, could be. She runs across the street to the kids, which is good and bad. You kind of want to draw the bad guy away from the kids, but she brings him right to the kids. But she is worried about them. That's her, her instinct as a babysitter. She wants to make sure the kids are okay. And that she tries the phone, but now Michael is, of course, when he did this, we don't know because the phone was working. When Linda called Laurie and got choked out, Michael's been in that house, in Lindsay's house the whole time, but now the phone doesn't work. But that's cool. It's fine.
Well,
the phone doesn't work.
He had to go outside sometime to put the rake up to the door.
All right. I guess he teleported. I understand. He's got that ability. We do know that. I mean, he never dies, so why is it so hard to believe he has teleportation skills?
Exactly. And
right?
He can also cloak cars.
Yes, exactly. She starts cowering on the floor, and Michael is suddenly in the house and lunges from behind the couch. He plunges the knife, misses her again, plunges the knife into the house, and she grabs a knitting needle and gets him right in the neck. Great shot. Like, she's the ace now. She's inherited his powers. She's got him in the neck. And he's dead. At least she thinks he's dead. So what does she do? She does take the knife, but she drops it. She takes it out of the couch and she drops it on the floor. So she's weaponless again. Then we switch to Loomis. He's looking around now. Brackett pulls up and Loomis tells him about the car, says to keep a lookout. So, again, we're back at the house now. Laurie's upstairs to check on the kids, and Tommy's great line. It is a cool line. She says, "It's over. I killed him." And Tommy says, "You can't kill the boogeyman." and Michael is standing right behind him. Right, he's back up the stairs. They run in the bedroom. She throws the kids in the closet. In one closet, I think it's kind of hard to tell where she puts them. Locks the door. Then she goes in the closet and sort of, puts a coat hanger, I guess, puts it around the door
I think
handle.
it's like a scarf or something.
Yeah, maybe a scarf,
something
right?
like
It's a
that.
piece of clothing. So she locks, sort of locks that flimsy bedroom door, the closet door that Michael at first has a big problem getting through, which is kind of funny.
Well, what's weird
he's-
is she opens the outside door to make him think she went outside, and he's not even close to being full
Nope.
of that.
Yeah, exactly. Nope, he's inside. He's chuckling at that. So, so she's in there. He starts banging on the door. He figures out he can bust the slats out.
Yes, and that's my second favorite scene in that movie because that is legit scary.
Yeah.
How he does that.
For sure.
Oh, absolutely. He finally gets through. Again, she's a dead aim. She opens up that coat hanger and gets him right in the eye. Like one lunge, and it's right in his eye. So, he backs up, and again, great. She grabs the knife and stabs him. We think he's dead again. She drops the knife again because now it's not important because he must be dead this time.
And what does she do again? Turns her back
Yes.
to him.
Because she wants to get the kids out, but she turns her back, doesn't have the knife, and
then just sits
of course,
there.
huddling in the doorway. Yeah, she huddles in the doorway, and Michael, shocked, he gets up again, doesn't he?
But in the coolest way possible.
Yes.
It does.
Oh yeah.
There's
Definitely.
if you go on YouTube, there's a audio from 1978 screening of the movie. It's like theater audio of that scene.
Oh.
The very last scene, so you can hear the crowd responding to that very scene.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. So the kids fly down the stairs and out the door. That alerts Loomis as to what's going on. So Laurie's finally got some backup. We hope. That rise from Michael is fantastic. He starts approaching Laurie and starts choking her because he kind of forgets the knife too, I guess. I don't know. Then that's when Loomis comes up the stairs. She pulls the mask off, so we get our view of Michael. He's got one damaged eye, it's cool because that could have been forgotten. But it was nice that he had a little makeup on his eye. So as he tries to put the mask back on, Loomis hits him with a shot, drives him back into the bedroom. Then Loomis rounds the corner into the bedroom and he empties the gun. 6 total shots, all into Michael, and he falls out the window into the yard. Laurie's line again, it goes back to all the references. It was the boogeyman. And Loomis answers almost sarcastically. It's kind of weird the way he answers. As a matter of fact, it was.
As a matter of fact.
It was. And then, so at that point, he goes back to the balcony and he looks down and Michael's gone. We knew, you knew he was going to be gone. And it's almost like Loomis knew he was going to be gone because the look on his face wasn't of panic. It was almost like, all right, we're going to have to continue this showdown sort of look. That's what I got from it anyway, when you see him. What do you guys think?
I sort of agree, but it's also like, and this is another point that somebody else had that I heard. It's kind of like when you do realize that Michael Myers is not human. Like it's kind of like it becomes like at that moment it becomes another thing,
Right. That makes sense too.
Do any of you guys watch Doctor Who?
No.
No.
I do not.
Oh, there's a character called Captain Jack, and he can't be killed. Like he basically sacrifices himself all the time to get things to be done. So people think oh, we killed him, but he just can't die. So I think that might be him.
He had his own show, right? That character has his own show, doesn't he?
He might have. I don't know. But he was a regular.
Yeah,
I
think he has his own show,
traveler.
and for some reason I actually watched that, and I never watched Doctor Who. But
Who's
yeah,
so
no,
good.
I get it. So yeah, Michael's gone. The music starts, but as the music starts, you hear Michael breathing. So
Yes.
it's obviously confirmed that he is there, and he's there to stay.
So this is my problem with that. with, you know, the fact that he survives those 6 shots is that they spend the whole rest of this franchise trying to justify this character's like immortality, like his superpowers. And they kind of have to, because, you know, the ending of this movie is dude's nowhere to be found after he falls from that balcony.
Exactly. And that gun, that was a hand cannon.
Yeah.
It wasn't a
It
38.
was a 38?
Okay? No, it wasn't. That was it. I didn't check, but it looked way bigger than a 38.
No, I'm pretty sure it's a 38.
Really?
Yeah, because I looked it
It
up
could
earlier.
be, but it just looked bigger. But yeah, you're right, Eric. Yeah, they do have, you know, in and of itself, that movie self-contained, that's fine. But you're right, when we start getting in, they got to retcon a lot of stuff. And,
Yeah, it gets super
out of control.
wacky.
Yeah.
Except for
this-
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Which
Oh, I love that movie. That's such dumb fun. You know.
But I do love when you were talking about right after that. We hear Michael breathing.
Yeah.
And I do love the shots of the house and then
Yes.
outside the neighborhood. So it's basically telling you, hey, he could be anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Could be in your neighborhood next. And that was the vibe. I mean, that was the whole thing about this movie, is that it was one of the first movies that brought that, you know, mass murder to your neighborhood, because it was real. You know, again, minus the immortality part, you know, at the end, the rest of it could happen everywhere. The neighborhood looked like suburban neighborhoods anywhere in America. And that's what scared the crap out of us when we went to see it. It's like, holy crap, I could go home and find this in my house, you know? And Carpenter did a great job with that.
And in a way, I think it's kind of cool that he disappears. That kind of opens up for a sequel. And it's different than, say, like Friday the 13th, where you actually do kill Jason, and then you have to figure out ways of reincarnate him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whether it's like lightning bolts or whatever, like you don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, you know.
You don't want to see Michael Myers in space?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a Smith & Wesson Model 15 Combat Masterpiece .38.
Okay. All right. It just looked bigger, but that's cool. It didn't do the job.
Nah.
Maybe
I got a
Loomis is
45
smaller.
that might.
Nice.
So, what was your favorite, or what was the scariest Michael Myers moment for you?
For me, it is that scene that they used the dimmer. I mean, that was it. When he appears like that, I thought it was a great film technique, and that's one scene I remember scaring the crap out of me in the theater. Like, that scene got me. You know, you think it's over, you're kind of convinced it's over, because remember, back then, see, now it's such a trope that, you know, the killer's not dead. It wasn't that much of one back then. So you really kind of hoped, you know, maybe this is it. And then you see his face standing there. So that totally tripped me out.
I think for me, early on in the film, after Laurie leaves the key in front of the Myers house, and she's walking away, but the camera doesn't follow her, and you see his shoulder come into the shot. He's just watching her walk away.
That's
There's
definitely
something
cool.
really like eerie about that scene in
Yeah.
particular for me.
Yep.
Yeah, for me it would be when he's trying to get in the closet. It's just such a raw thing. Like he's just like straight up breaking shit, trying to find a way to get in. That is my most like Mike Myers like scary moment. But completely going back to the very beginning, watching the inmates or whatever, the people walking around in the rain in this field. That to me is the creepiest part of the whole movie.
Now, I have a hard time pinpointing the exact scene, but it's definitely in The Love Guru.
That's my scariest Mike Myers moment. I'm going to go with the Cat in the Hat.
Very good.
That's mine.
That was the scariest Mike Myers moment to
true.
me.
The Cat in the Hat. That is kind of creepy.
Sorry, I set that entire thing up so I could say that shitty joke.
It was worth it.
Is it all right, baby? Is it Randy?
Do I make you Randy?
Yeah.
So, let's move on to our ratings for this movie, guys.
All right.
Who wants to do the rating breakdown system, Doug?
All right. So we work on a system of 1 to 5. it can be incremental in between. So you can give something a 3.5 or a 4.5 or a 4.8. 0, you can give it a 0 if it's the worst movie you've ever seen. We know that's going to be rare, but you never know. And then we work up from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 being the perfect movie. We've previously discussed that that might never happen. Each of us have our favorite movies, and that could. But we are going to keep track of these things, and we want to use it as a way to sort of help you decide how you might feel about it if you haven't seen it, and then give it a shot. So let's go with our guest. Do you want to Tony, do you want to give us what your rating is?
Sure. I think knowing what the budget was and knowing that it was early slasher, a lot of new things were coming in play, like the POV type stuff, using new technology, I guess, like whatever it was called, like the Panaglider or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And even with all of its flaws, I still have to give it like a solid 4, I think, for me.
Okay. All right.
It's not, obviously, it's far from being the perfect scary movie. I feel like the kill count was low. I think they should have probably done a little better at that. But overall, like the big picture, it is still like a great classic movie that I think everybody should watch it.
Yep. All right, Eric, what do you got?
I'm inclined to agree with Tony. I was a little hard on this movie, but I absolutely adore it. I think it laid the groundwork for so much about what we love in horror. And when you see a horror movie, a modern one, do things right, it's usually because they're copying this movie. I mean, it's a wonderful blueprint. So I would give this movie a 4 out of 5 as well. It's easy to pick apart, and there is a lot of continuity stuff going on, and there's a lot of budget stuff going on, but they really, it just doesn't feel like the Halloween season without this movie. I'll put it that way.
Yep, I get it. Absolutely. Joe, what do you got?
All right, so for me, it's a hard sell in the first place because I'm not a fan of horror movies typically. It's just not my genre. So it's always going to be harder for me to give a higher score to a horror movie as a disclaimer in general.
Sure.
With that being said, there are horror movies that I would put, in the higher 4 range just because I think they're movies that I really, really got down with. Like, for example, like a movie like Cabin in the Woods where it had that twist, that's going to get a much higher grade from me just because there's a lot more going on. But with this movie, it is a classic. They did a lot for the budget they had, and they did a lot with what they had going against them as far as what they had set up the setting to be. And for that reason, because of the fact that I think it's good, but I'm not likely to rewatch it anytime soon, I'm giving it a 3.
Okay. I respect that, definitely. For me, again, I got to go back to the sentimental value of it. I did do a lot of trashing of it during this narration, but it does hold a place in my heart, personally, and as a leader in the genre. I agree with Eric in that it means so much to a lot of people. John Carpenter to me is one of the masters, so I could never disrespect that man. This was one of his early works. So I mean, I've got to, I would be inclined to give it a 4, but I'm going to go like 4.2 because I am adding my sentimental feelings to the movie.
Fair enough.
So I got a 4.2.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this grading system so good is that like when people start to identify with one of us with what we typically like, it's going to help them to stay more with the person who they connect the best with.
Agreed.
Sweet. So
all right, my friends.
This has been a super fun episode. I just want to right now while we can give you guys a chance to go ahead and plug away. Plug anything you want to plug. Let's start with Mr. Tony.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you guys for inviting me. I do like this movie a lot, and the fact that you guys did it, well, I wanted to be a part of it. So for plugs, I guess I have to say check out my apparel brand, Stay Young SB. I see that Mr. Pabon there made a purchase.
Yes,
was it
sir.
today or something like that. I was excited about that. Thank you so much. And I guess follow me on Instagram at Tony with an I _ROD. And follow at Stay Young SB on Instagram as well. And I think that's it for me.
Nice.
All right. Joe, what do you got?
Well, you can find me with my guitar pedal company, Like My Pedals. I mostly do everything on Facebook, so just facebook.com/Like My Pedals. But you can also see pictures on Instagram at Like My Pedals. And if you like me in general, you can also catch me on my regular podcast, Just Surprise Me, which is, as we said in the last episode, the ghost job of podcasts, because it's just a mess. But it does leave you oddly satisfied at the end of it.
Oh, as most ghost jobs do.
The other three gentlemen on this show are all been guests and can all be guests anytime they want to, because that's kind of the fun of that show, is just you never know who's going to be on it.
Absolutely. It is a blast. It's fun every single time I've ever done it. I've had a blast, so I
agree.
recommend it. Yep.
All right. Well, as for me, you can find me at Art of Eric Pabon, PABON.com. If you need custom art of any kind, commissions, family portraits. Got the holidays coming up, so the list is filling up fast. If you want to get in there, just shoot me a message, and I will take care of you.
All right. Yep. For me, first I want to say again, congrats, Tony, on the citizenship. I think that's wonderful.
Oh,
yeah.
that's
and I'm
very kind of you. Thank you.
No, and it's great to hear that you're immediately diving into the process with the voter registration and everything. You're doing what you're supposed to do, and we can't ask for more than that. So that's cool. If you want to follow me, you can look for my pedal company, 37FX. That's the word 30, the number 7 FX. I've got my Fat Guy Little Coat Fuzz mini enclosure, big sound. I'm doing a lot of custom colors for customers now. So if it's doable, hit me up and we'll talk about it and determine if it is doable. And then, I can make it for you. Take a look at some of the photos on the Instagram and see what I've done. All right. I appreciate it.
Hey, dog, I'm going to have to talk to you soon because I got these pedals from this local guy, and they're kind of shitty.
Yeah, that
Oh,
guy's a piece
yeah,
of shit,
that
dude.
happens. I fell into that trap too.
Yeah. And he uses terrible art too now.
Yeah, it's real
Yeah,
bad.
exactly. The whole thing. You'd think it wouldn't have gotten worse, but it did.
Oh, it's so much worse. Yeah. It should be
Yeah.
called Dislike My Pedals.
Oh shit, that's great. That's great.
All right, guys. Well,
So,
this
yeah.
has been fun. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you. Oh, we didn't even mention what the next movie is, so you guys got to prepare.
Yes.
I almost forgot. We're doing the great classic Tim Allen movie with about 1 million other people in it as well. I'm going to call it more of a Jason Lee, Dennis Farina movie, Big Trouble, which takes place in Miami. So I'm finally going to get to have some of my expertise on point here, since it's almost all been New York crap so far.
New York crap. Nice. Nice. Yep.
So
looking
we
forward
look
to it.
forward to doing that episode with you guys, and you guys have a good one.
All right. Be safe, everyone.
Till next time, my friends. Peace out.
Bye.
Blackest eyes.